Hello, my name is Dave Lungren from Collegis Education. Welcome to Virtual EDUCAUSE. This is certainly a new experience for all of us. Today my presentation is Meeting Online Learners Where They Are, Online Course Design in 2020. You know, one thing that we see every day as we work with schools and universities is that our learners are becoming more demanding. I personally saw this change happen with the recession of 2008. Students really started to think about how much debt they were taking on. You know, everybody knows people with master's degrees that are working as a barista, and students really thought about that, and they became more skeptical about the value of the college education. They started to really focus on the return on investment of those tuition dollars. Students are spending a lot of money and we're obviously really realizing that they're coming out of school with enormous amounts of debt and sometimes having difficulty finding a job or finding a job that pays well enough to make that investment in tuition worth it. You know, as a result, as we look at the data over the past 10 years, we see declining enrollments. It's kind of scary. The population of the country is going up, but enrollment in college is going down. And the pandemic, I believe, is only making things worse. The rush for many colleges and universities to move online back in the spring resulted in a lot of really inferior online learning experiences and probably turned a lot of students off both to online learning as well as college itself. So I think that together we have work to do to win them back. So what do we need to do? Well, in my feeling, what we do is we need to meet learners where they are. So we know that in today's economy, the value of education has never been greater. This is a knowledge economy. And we, as course designers and developers and educators, we have to convince students that their education is valuable, that they need to come, they need to enroll, and more importantly, they need to finish. But to do that, we have to think about the student. We must recognize their needs, their wants, their preferences. And by doing that, we are going to design courses that meet learners where they are, not where we think they are, and not where we wish them to be, which are really two common traps that all of us fall into. So in the rest of the presentation, I'm really going to talk about what I think are critical design considerations for 2020 and beyond. Mobile, data, diversity, relevance, and user experience. We'll get into each of these in a bit more detail as we progress forward. First, mobile. I want to view it on my device. That is what students want. That is a need, a preference. That is everything. Students want to view it on their device, the device of their choosing. And, as designers and developers, we've just got to accept it. Mobile has become the primary device. You look at data, you look at our own data as we service our students, and see well over 50%, sometimes 60-70% of the access to the LMS is being done through the phone. For someone like me who's been doing this a long time, it's hard to believe. You think to yourself, students need to be doing this on a desktop or on their laptop so that they can engage with the content better, but that is not the choice and the preference that students are making. So it is up to us. LMS companies really have generally done a pretty good job. No matter the LMS, they have built it in a pretty mobile-friendly way, so the interface resizes and reflows, and the apps are generally pretty good. So they've done their good job, but it's really up to us to make sure that we put the right content into the LMS to make it mobile-friendly. Some things are simple. Don't use Flash anymore. Phones never supported Flash. Plus, Flash is really being end of life by the computer industry at the end of this year. But I still see Flash elements everywhere in online courses. flash elements that are old interactive pieces from book publishers or other content sources. So that one's a no-brainer, but we still see it out there a lot. But even beyond flash, there's certainly imagery or other objects that don't resize or don't resize smoothly. And that's an issue when someone is now trying to view it on their phone, because they're getting all kinds of weird scroll bars, or else they just don't see it very well. How we structure the content is critical. When I'm watching on my laptop or my desktop, I don't want long scrolling pages. I want to, make it easier for students to perhaps click through the content and see it on a page-by-page basis. Which again works really well for your laptop, does not work very well for your phone, where all of those clicks become a real issue. So think about how the content is structured and think about how students are consuming it. Assignments and assessments, wow. You're not going to use Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint on your phone, so start thinking about that. If students are truly using a mobile as their primary device, how are you going to make sure that they can take their assignments and assessments in a way that works for them? But also, and obviously more importantly, verifies they've achieved course level learning objectives and still have the level of exam security. So all things to think about. I mean, it is just saying that students are using mobile isn't enough. We really have to think through all of the consequences of them viewing it on their mobile device. And also, testing is critical. I don't mean testing as in assessments. I mean testing it yourself after you've built it in the LMS. Look at it in the app and look at it by directly logging into the LMS using the browser on your phone. That's what students are going to do. That's what you need to do to test it. Data. Where am I? How am I doing? And how do I share with others? These are all things that our students are thinking about, and we need to think about them too. We know that online learning requires students to take greater ownership of the learning experience. But to do that, they have to have the knowledge of where they are and how they're doing. I mean, that's an integral and important part of taking ownership. As we think about the content that we're building, perhaps broken into modules or weekly folders, what is the learning path through that content? I'm a big fan of thinking through, how do I want to scaffold the learning, and how do I want students to experience the learning? And so I'm big on creating a learning path, a clear learning path through the content, and guideposts along the way. So students are finishing something and moving on to the next task or the next resource in a way that's clear, helps them understand where they are. Many LMSs have tools that can help show this, whether it's just marking that content has been viewed, or by breaking it up into different sections, or whatever. But think about whatever LMS you're using, how can you use the tools in that LMS to help students keep track of exactly where they are, what they have done. Likewise, assessments are critical in this piece. End-of-term high-stake assessments are great, but boy, that's difficult for a student to monitor their progress, and particularly monitor their progress and adjust how they're doing. Wow, if assessments are spread throughout the course, students can realize when they're starting to do well. The students can realize when they're not doing so well, perhaps make an adjustment to their approach or to the amount of time they put in studying. Obviously, you can do this a lot during using formative assessment techniques. But think about those assessments that impact the grade. I am a big fan of course-long projects that have multiple deliverables that are really spread throughout the entire term. That supports great interaction between student and faculty member, as well as allows students to have a good sense of where they are and how they're doing, as faculty members are constantly evaluating and providing feedback and putting grades on individual deliverables of that larger project. Also, beyond students knowing how they're doing and where they are, students want to share. This is our students are part of an online community, and they want to share what they're doing. So think about giving students vehicles to do that. Digital badges is an easy one, where students, as they accomplish things in the course, you award a badge that students can then push to LinkedIn or push into Facebook or share it in a multitude of different ways, so they can, the way that they're taking pictures of the dinner at the restaurant, they can share their digital badge. Diversity. And I'm going to look at diversity in a little bit different way than you might think immediately. I'm thinking it from the perspective of student, I am the audience, meet my needs. So for really diversity from a learning perspective. The age of the monolithic 18 to 19-year-old traditional college student going right out of high school and into college, those days are gone for the vast majority of institutions. It's 15 to 20% of the students that nowadays that really fit that traditional college student mold. Today's learners, wide range of backgrounds, experiences, ages. You are looking out at a class that just is such a mix of people and abilities and developed skills, and you need to be ready for that. And demanding students, as we talked about, students are demanding. They want to see value. They want a return on their investment. They want to be prepared for their career success. They are not patient that it's hard to serve a diverse audience. Think about the ADDIE model, where the first step is analyzing our audience. Well, when the audience is so diverse, the analysis is, wow, we have to serve a lot of different backgrounds and experiences and skill levels, and that is very difficult. But that's what students are expecting. Our demanding students are expecting that level once they're in their online courses. So how do we do it? As designers and teaching faculty, we have to be flexible, we have to be adaptable, and willing to put in the extra work. If we are going to serve a student base that has a wide range of experiences, different backgrounds, different ages, different maturity levels, we can't just produce our content in a single way. We can't use necessarily the content that we have been delivering for the past 10 or 15 or 20 years. Many ways to learn. We have got to present students with options in their learning. And I'm not totally sold necessarily on the whole learning styles idea, but I am a strong believer in learning preferences. Some students want to watch a video. Some students like to have an audio that they perhaps could download and carry on their phone and listen to in the car or listen on the bus. Some students like to read. Some students like to interact. They have real preferences for learning, preferences that tend to be the way that they learn best. So we have to think about, as we're designing our online courses, that we are presenting students with many ways to learn the same material. Students that can find that form of content delivery that works for them, that's a good fit for them, they're going to be happy students, and they're going to be successful students because they know that each week, wow, I'm going to start with that video because that video really grounds me for the week. Or, gosh, I love that podcast that the faculty member does each week that I can download and listen to because that's the way that it really works for me. Or, honestly, like me, my personal preference is I'm a reader. I want text because I can consume text quickest and most efficiently and effectively. So think about that as you're thinking about the weekly content in your course. My guess is all of us fall into the trap of really presenting everything in a single way. And maybe that worked in the past, but that doesn't work now. Our students are more demanding. Relevance. Now, when you speak about demanding students, relevance becomes ever more important. Don't waste my time, and more importantly, my money. Students are becoming smarter consumers. They know that how much they are spending, they know how much debt they're taking on, they see from friends and family members the challenge of dealing with all that debt. So they want it to be relevant. That focus on return on investment, that gives me as a student little patience for working on coursework that I don't see the connection to my long-term goals or to my career success. Why am I taking this? It's becoming, it's not the fifth grader or seventh grader wondering why they have to take algebra. It is the adult college student who is trying to balance probably a job, a family, other outside responsibilities in addition to a financial commitment, and they want to make sure that what they're working on is relevant. So starts at the top. Program objectives. Wow. Those program objectives really must align with student long-term success, and which is typically career success for the vast majority of the programs. And as we think about the individual course level, how do we design that content so that students just intuitively realize its connection to the real world, to professional success, to career success, to their long-term goals? One easy way certainly is when you think about assessment, authentic assessment. Let's get away from multiple choice objective testing. Let's get towards, again, things like project-based assessment, where students can start to apply their knowledge in the context of real-world situations. Not only is that better from an assessment perspective, not only is that better from an exam security perspective rather than just an objective test, but it's better for students in terms of their satisfaction because they really see the relevance. If I am, when I feel that I'm doing my work, and I see how I'm going to use that when I start the job, that again feeds satisfaction and just makes students happier and more successful. Now, the last thing I am trying to do here is make a suggestion that college degree is job training. It is absolutely not. We all know, we are all in the workforce now, and we know the value of the skills that you learn in traditional liberal arts education. Communication, critical thinking, collaboration, just all of the ability, the analytical abilities, the things that I'm coming out of my liberal arts education that are so valuable in the workplace. As we talk to employers, they're rarely focused on the hard skills of their college graduates because they always feel they can teach hard skills or coach them up on the hard skills. It's the soft skills, the skills that are getting from their liberal arts training that are so important to employers. But for us as educators, we need to help students see that connection, that relevance between what they're learning in their liberal arts courses and what they're learning perhaps in their program degree courses. That those skills are every bit as important, quite honestly, if not more important to career success. But we have to show them that relevance because students don't always see it on their own. Finally, user experience. Meet my expectations for living online. Our students live online. I mean, heck, all of us live online to some degree nowadays, but certainly our students are. It tends to be the younger you are, the more you have grown up with online learning and grown up with an online community. And, students live in that online world and they have formed firm expectations about it, about what they think the experience should be like, about what they think the level of engagement should be like, about what they think community building and access and interaction with their community is like. I know it's not fair, but our students are going to compare their online learning experience to Amazon, to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. The sites that they live on outside of school are the comparison and the standards for the sites that they live on once they get inside your school portal and your LMS and your course materials. Now, that is a very tough comparison for everyone, all institutions. And, I work with a lot of different institutions, and I can tell you from my experience that most institutions are failing in that comparison. Now, you don't need to beat Amazon, Facebook, YouTube, etc. But you got to be competitive in terms of user experience, or else students now really start to get turned off. So, a traditional model where we are relying on a faculty member to build an online course, obviously the faculty member are going to create solid content. They're the master of the discipline. They're master in the teaching and assessment of the discipline. But that just isn't enough to create an online user experience of the level that our students are expecting and demanding. An individual faculty member just can't do it. They need help and support. They need to collaborate with instructional designers who are expert in creating online learning environments. They need to work with web and media developers to help them create interactive online experiences. Video producers to do professional video production that looks good, and just the various technology experts as faculty bring technology into the online class. It needs to be done in an elegant way that works. So this represents a much greater investment in course development than institutions traditionally have done. Having a team of developers and instructional designers to work with faculty is a real investment, and most schools as of yet have not chosen to make that investment. But you need to. You either need to build that capability internally, or you need to partner with outside companies to bring in that expertise and capacity, because you can't get away with the user experience that you have been. These are all things that are not increasing student satisfaction. They are in fact turning students away from your institution because the user experience is just not there. And now even beyond the online course, the learning technology ecosystem of the institution is so important. The LMS is not enough anymore. The LMS should be the hub of the learning, certainly, but it's not enough alone. It's just not enough. You need an LMS. You're going to need a web conferencing system for synchronous interactions. You're going to need a video platform where you can easily record and stream video. You're going to want to be integrated with online library databases, with e-textbooks, with the wide variety of virtual labs and other virtual resources available from publishers and other content sources. All of those things need to be brought into your online classroom to raise the level of user experience. Again, a faculty member can't be expected to do that alone. They need help. But we can do it. I know we can, and I see it in many institutions, but I want to see it in every institution. We can meet students where they are. We can, as course designers and developers, we can do our piece to try and arrest the decline in enrollments, but more importantly, to help convince students of the value of higher education, and we know that that is going to lead to their long-term success. So we need to do it. We can meet students where they are. We can understand their expectations and their preferences. We can design courses and online learning experiences to do it. We need to commit to do it, and we need to invest in it.